Hello, hello, hello. Shaman again, Diego Ife. Happy Sunday. I hope you're having a great weekend and I'm wishing you well for the week ahead. Now, today's topic is influenced by the popularity surrounding high value male status. As many of us know, it was Kevin Samuels who first popularized it in terms of your more recent times, social media, that type of thing, and that was of course, during the lockdown period. The thing for me is I like to feed my mind. I've got several self-help and self-improvement books. I listen to various audio books of that nature. And I'm always open-minded to, say, frameworks and philosophies that might help me achieve my goals in one way or another. Okay. And so without further ado, because high value men, the framework has been subjectively deployed by different people after Kevin Samuels' passing, I believe that it needs more coherence. Many people have borrowed ideas that are not theirs and repackaged it online, namely on YouTube. Now, for those people that consume that and they derive value, heck, if they like it, I love it. However, I'll be honest with you, I think that many people will be doing themselves a disservice if they choose to focus on subjectives or subjectivity around high value. Now, it's easy to talk. It's very easy to talk. And one may ask themselves, what are you doing in the name of contributing? And I think it's a fantastic question. Which brings me on to the man of substance, introducing the M.O.S, the man of substance framework, as an alternative or a supplement to the high value man motive. And without further ado, let's launch right into it. The M.O.S, the man of substance, is an alternative framework to the high value man motive. The idea came about following deep reflections of the lessons I learned from Kevin Samuels' content creation over a 3-year period. The most concerning observation has been the proliferation and thereafter prevalence with which men self-style as high value men, both online and offline. The sole reason for identification as a high value man is the money component. This is almost exclusively used to peacock at women or as a form of wallet signaling to women. Given the wallet almost always exists in the imaginary, it is lust driven and clearly unproductive. And I'll just leave that slide up for a few seconds just so that people can really just let it marinate. From the onset of the 2020 coronavirus lockdown period, self-styled high-value men are seldom, if at all ever, seen networking online to build or expand networks with fellow high-value men. Online, self-styled high-value men tend to shame others they deem not to hold high-value status. All modern women seem to want high-value men solely for the money/lifestyle and the inevitable drama that will accompany it. To add even further confusion to the discourse, there has been a proliferation in the usage of the high-value woman motive, which is a predictable reaction to the popularization of the high-value man motive. The high-value woman motive is indistinct and is subjectively used from one case to another, thereby also making it ineffectual for women looking for a framework to level up with. A recap of the high value man framework and its context in the present times is needed. Very much needed. And I'll just leave that up for a few more seconds. The emergence of Kevin Samuels and popularization of the high value man motive. Kevin Samuels was an Oklahoma native born in March 1969 and was an only child. He was also a cancer survivor, which undermined the conclusion of his university studies. Yet this adversity did not deter him, and he embarked on a career in corporate America, specifically in the telecommunications industry. He excelled in corporate America and managed large teams before seeking pastures new. After several personal challenges, he embarked on a path of redemption, becoming an image consultant in the process. It was this change in occupation which was to prove, or rather to pave, the way for an enviable legacy. Kevin Samuels was mentored by BGS, an older brother figure who also mentors several other younger men of different ages and from myriad geographies. During one of their many interactions, BGS flagged he had several accomplished, high-achieving male subscribers on his platform, but they were struggling to find mates. Wives for these men would be one of the final frontiers in building their legacies, and the mating dating frontier was attributed to contextual social awkwardness, and that was namely with women. Moreover, their sense of style, or the lack of such, was just as inhibiting as their extant social challenges. Chaos pondered possibilities, drawing on his enterprising spirit in the process. Ultimately, it was determined that the high value man framework could be deployed to motivate a spirit of redemption in such men. Just thought I'd add a few pictures in just to give a bit of, make the imagination a bit more vivid, that type of thing, you know. Swiftly moving on. Though Kevin Samuels is synonymous with the high value man motive, he didn't create it and made a point of clarifying this. The roots of the high value man can be traced to the takeoff of 1980s corporate American culture. This era emerged out of the 1970s, during which there was a need to forge a new economic path, given the crises and seismic changes that characterized the decade, i.e. oil crisis, deindustrialization, and so forth. The offshoring of many manual labor jobs to Asia and other environs paved the way for an increase in the service economy, and by extension a new culture. Corporate culture became characterized as profit-driven, very long days, workplace spouses and romances, drinking during office hours, and easy recruitment without background checks / verification, i.e. networking, nepotism, and so forth, all of which became commonplace. The 1980s dressing style reflected a desire by the broader US populace to move away from the fashion of the 70s. This is evident in the choices of clothing, especially to project an air of power. Suits became exponentially popular for both men and women, the latter the result of feminism. Popular culture of this era is replete with examples of high-value men, largely on TV. Richard Gere's character in Pretty Woman, and the likes of Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, both elected for the grey charcoal / grey double-breasted suit, instructive examples of the high-value man attire. Uncle Phil had the network, the wealth, the stable family and status. He was a selfless person that effectively adopted the character played by Will Smith. Richard Gere's character Edward Lewis was different in many ways to Uncle Phil, but he was arguably still high value. One evident example of this is his exercise of discipline by keeping one designated and consistent escort in Vivian Ward, Julia Roberts. He did not have a rotation / concubinage or any other adjacent setup. He was largely about his business, work / lifestyle balance. Uncle Phil and Edward Lewis are both examples of the pre-digital / analog high value man. Thus, they predate the COVID era popularization of the high value man. Now, this is the high value man criteria that Kevin Samuels outlined. A US six-figure annual income in an industry that is recognizable or can feature on LinkedIn with no ambiguity. That is, can feature on LinkedIn with no ambiguity. Build or become part of a network, or as Kevin Samuels put it, a wolf pack. The wolf pack ideally consists of men from a broad range of industries spanning both blue and white collar professions. It does not automatically include those who are in sports or entertainment sectors, as their money comes differently. Cannot have baby mothers. Must exercise discipline. Work 50 to 60 hours of paid work per week. Continued. Image / style conscious. Regular gym and exercise routines to contend with demanding work and social engagements. If you're a single man / bachelor, no more than 7% of your free time should be spent on relations with women. Recognize that high value man status can be gained and lost. 83% of successful entrepreneurs are self-made. And make a firm choice on your preferred masculine identity. The options being rugged, refined, or rakish. Now, according to masculinitystyle.com, rugged is defined as follows. The rugged man is one who is physically masculine. He bends nature to his will by means of his brute force and has a caveman attitude that brooks no nonsense. There is nothing subtle about the rugged man, and everything in his life exists for a specific direct purpose. He is the adventurer, the mountain man, the gladiator, and the blue collar worker. Just let that marinate for a moment. Very important information. Moving on. According to the same source, rakish is defined as follows. The rake is a man who is socially masculine. He influences individual people to his will by means of his attitude, his charisma, and his disdain for following the rules of society and being beholden to another man. While he is capable of using direct elements to accomplish his goals, he lives largely in a subtle world and is always thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead of the people around him. He is constantly adapting to new situations and thrives in his ability to do so. He is the playboy, the rock, the outlaw, and the vigilante. Again, let's let that marinate for a moment. Lastly, the same source defines refined as follows. The refined man is one who is financially and influentially masculine. He bends the world of men to his will by means of his connections, his money, and his political / social power. He is capable of mixing both direct and subtle elements to accomplish his goals, and has so much clout that he very rarely has to adapt to situations going out of his control, because they never do. He is the titan of industry, the politician, the hedge fund manager, and the 1%. We'll let that one marinate for a moment. Now, just some additional and relevant notes by Kevin Samuels, essentially his intellectual property. In addition, the high value man motive. KS recognized that men are not high value innately, and there is a lead-up process to actualization. Now, one such pre-high value man model is the Henry acronym, which is high earner, not rich yet. Another, which is for the women, is FBI, fit, beautiful, inspirational, or feminine, beautiful, inspirational. An additional one for the men is CIA, confident, intelligent, ambitious, or confident, intelligent, and aspirational. The rationale for the above is to use such slogans / acronyms as a motivational and navigational tool / reminder for those who wish to level up, whether it's with respect to personal development or finding a mate or spouse. Though the high value man is to be used as a framework, a gauge of one's current state and the possibilities beyond this, such is its inherent exclusivity. The model has upset many sensibilities, of course the many that feel excluded. KS spoke about the importance of short haircuts and neat facial hair, all being clean shaven if black men want to maximize their promotion prospects in the corporate world. The pushback was largely due to the keeping it real trope. Many people, both men and women, did not like Kevin Samuels' advice to men to lead with their wallets, something they vehemently disagreed with, and eulogized the virtue of a woman liking them for them. Many people, both men and women, were offended to be told they either weren't high value or that high value men do not want overweight women. Many people, both men and women, were offended to be told that high value men generally do not want single mothers. And where there are exceptions, it is if she has one child and of course one baby father. The average at best video, its virality, and the humbling of hordes of women, or alternatively sensitizing them to reality, seeking a mate with deep pockets. That's what the video accomplished. It did give people more of a dose of reality. A harsh one, I'm saying harsh, but maybe it was like a punch to the gut. But when you practice denialism, what do you expect? In any case, he was twice divorced, something that was used ad nauseum to discredit him and call into question his competence to give relationship advice. They called him gay and Kitten Hills Kevin as other forms of derision. These are my responses to the high value man criticisms. While Kevin Samuels did a stellar job in popularizing the high value man motif, it is easy to forget that the initial impetus for his show, prior to women featuring, was a redemption of the nerd mission, and it worked, and continues to. The exclusivity of being a distinct high value man of valor has had very broad appeal since its mainstreaming. Men wanting to be labeled high value, self-styled high value women, or self-styled high value women wanting a high value man, high value equilibrium. The ensuing competitive mating and dating landscape and attendant social media coverage has attracted and exposed legions of narcissists. The repeated, albeit unsuccessful, assailing of his character represents a revenge for the narc mission. He was very forthcoming in taking accountability for being twice divorced. That's also another point to note. I'll let that marinate. Cool. His work was seldom recognized by his detractors. No regard for his efforts to help redeem the Black American communities. It was highly distasteful to celebrate his death despite being mortal and on the clock themselves. He reportedly matched over 100 couples despite unequivocally stating he was not a matchmaker by occupation, but first and foremost an image consultant. Now, by way of introduction, the man of substance. Trust me, I've been excited to share this. I gave an extensive background into high value because it was necessary, but this here, waiting for them. In any case, the M.O.S framework is an alternative or a supplement to high value man, depending on perspective. The motivation behind it is the unhelpful obsession with high value men, with a high value framework, not least because it's subjective and it's superficial at its core. And I'm not talking about Kevin Samuels, I'm talking about the obsession and how it's metastasized across the internet. In any case, while many men are attracted to the idea of becoming high value, the process can be a daunting one. The less glamorous side of it is almost never mentioned by social commentators. Now, Henry, as a high value prelude, is largely based on the income component, but the M.O.S takes more into account. M.O.S is also a gauge into the authenticity of people you are around / the ones you attract. And we're really just going to let that marinate for a moment. Moving on. So this is the man of substance, the M.O.S framework / criteria. Must possess a positive attitude or aspire to, adopt the 25% rule or the law of 25% as a navigation tool for human relationships. For those who did not watch one of my more recent past videos about the 25% rule, all it is, and this is a high level summary, people either like you or they don't. So you can say, for example, 50% of people like you, 50% don't like you. But we know that people tend to present images or what have you, a mask of what they're truly about. They tend to conceal their intentions in not so many words, right? So if we cut the 50% in half, 25% of people will always be for you on average, 25% are going to pretend to be for you or they're going to be for you. Now, of the 50% that don't like you, 25% are going to dislike you regardless of whatever happens. You could save their family member in a difficult situation. You could save someone's life. They don't care. They don't like you. Then there are the ones that misjudged you early on. So the initial first impression was that, I don't like this one, man. But then afterwards they think, hang on a second. I don't really have a reason to dislike this person. Is there a way that I can extend an olive branch, albeit stylishly? So if anybody can relate to the example, to what I've just said, an example of that is someone who you do not think likes you, or it's kind of evident they don't, gradually starting to be nicer to you. They might make a compliment and you're like, for real? So in other words, essentially what I'm saying is 25% at any given point, on average, that's what you work with. It's a working framework. It's important to grasp that. Back to the matter at hand. Must be part of a network or aspire to such. A 1 hour daily reading habit can build up incrementally to this, i.e. initially allocating 20 minutes before staircasing to 1 hour, or heck, even more if you're ambitious enough. Understanding the industries you work in or you do business activities in, i.e. the money is good at the moment, but the industry is in gradual decline, thus necessitating the need to diversify / identify other possibilities. A minimum of 20 minutes exercise daily, a gym habit of attending at least 3 times a week. Hold a decisive, independent, and ideological worldview. This has to take into account relationships, society, future considerations, and political consciousness. And also being health conscious. Medical MOTs, aka every so often, especially for men, and the possibility of prostate cancer and stuff like that. Medical MOT is essentially just a checkup, and where possible, try to make better dietary choices than not. No one's perfect. We all have our cheat periods. Some people have like cheat life. So just something to take into account. Just let that marinate for a moment. Seek and participate in self-defense classes. Build up an instinctive reflex for peaceful conflict resolution. Self-accountability / introspection on your progress while making use of the M.O.S framework. Embrace the reality that high-value man status can be lost. Scandals of various forms, let the imagination run wild. Recognizing that the reality that the M.O.S or the M.O.S is decentralized in its application. The framework is to be deployed as a measure of progress / present status. Consider being part of accountability partnerships, accountability networks. By reflex, consider more successful men as potential collaborators than defaulting and doubling down on jealousy. Worse still, recruiting other people to join in on the hate campaign in earnest. Distance oneself from non-like-minded people, including those that are drifters and have a negative / fatalistic outlook on life, often by reflex, mind you. Discipline, again, let the imagination run wild. Refusal to engage in sex worship via the pum-pum persuasion. Being accountable and circumspect about choices and mates. Avoiding serious relationship possibilities with incompatible mates. Where such incompatibility becomes evident, accountability and decisive course correction is mandatory. Self-preservation, mental health, and any other measures are bigger priorities than modern relationships. Building up a meditation habit for at least 10 minutes daily. You could also build up incrementally to this. I mean, you'd be surprised if you put a timer on your phone for like a minute, 30 seconds, think about nothing, close your eyes, breathe in, breathe out. Massive difference. Gradually build up on that. I digress. Well, actually, I don't digress. Moving on. So this is some final thoughts and considerations. The M.O.S is a more inclusive alternative to the high-value man framework, which many find intimidating, especially the fear of failure / loss and how inhibiting and lonely it can be. It allows for Henry and high-value male aspirants to achieve well-rounded development beyond the income component. Embracing the journey of M.O.S makes you a winner, gives you a winner's mindset. The framework is designed to give you a sense of control / empowerment. Modern and traditional women will come to respect and acknowledge your M.O.S development. It is possible to draw on all frameworks in your journey towards success and fulfillment. Ideally, once you begin to reach your income peak, you'll have nailed M.O.S and HVM. Now just let that marinate for a moment. And we've reached the conclusion of the, shall I say, presentation, at least this content I wanted to cover. So listen, I'll always root for you. Thank you for listening. Best wishes and God bless. I believe I've covered everything largely that I wanted to. I do thank you for your patience, and look, if there's any feedback or comments, feel free to drop them in the comment section. Please do like and share the video. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Every little subscriber or every extra subscriber helps. Yeah, this has been an interesting journey, like producing these slides. It's something I've been working on for a little while, but I just needed to make sure that I fine-tuned it. And before I forget, I'd be very interested to know what your, as in this is the men, mind you, your idea of masculine identity. So in other words, the rugged, the rakish, and the refined. Where do you feel that you might fit in with respect to that? Keep in mind that the rugged is that guy that is physically strong, shall I say. He does not take shit from no one. He's a blue collar worker. He's an adventurer. He's a, you understand? Then you've got the rake, who can take on aspects of the rugged, but he's more socially masculine. He uses finesse, charisma, and is always one step ahead. And the refined, in many ways, is the creme de la creme. He has other elements that you might find embodied in both the rake and the rugged, but he is financially and socially masculine. Okay? I want you to remember this. He has the ability to bend things in his favor. And he does not, how would I put this? He's a man of valor. He is essentially part of the 1%, and if he's not, he's going to get there. I just want to do a quick recap just so that, you know, this, I'm interested in your feedback on this. And yeah, probably going to say thank you for the third time. Listen, I'm grateful. Much love. God bless. And I look forward to your responses, feedback in due course.